Because immediately you begin to see is, I got to do something with Seattle. I got to fix Seattle in a way that really is going to support the future. So I need to figure that out, and I met with the Secretary of Transportation, Paula Hammond, in downtown Seattle, and with her immediate staff, and I've met with the state officials in Oregon and also in California. I have more meetings. I'm meeting with some of the union leaders. I'm meeting with our own staff. I am very blessed to be able to use our combination business car and inspection car to get around on this system. It really makes me and helps me understand how I can have my meetings, and I stay right on the car for the most part, except for when I was in San Jose and we did the Caltrain facility. I stayed in the hotel, but other than that, I've been on the car. And I have that car connected to the rest of the train with a transition dorm so I can go through and talk to folks. People want to engage. Sometimes by 9 o'clock at night, I'm done engaging. So there is a respite for me to be able to come back and rest a little bit. But we're able to have those meetings. People can be right there in downtown LA, or in downtown Seattle, or in downtown Chicago. I left DC on the Capital Limited last Thursday. Spent just a few hours in Chicago. Spent a couple days in Seattle. I'm spending time here. I got here, what day? Thursday? Thursday night. I lose track of the days, and I won't be leaving here until this next Wednesday. I'm going out to Riverside this afternoon to look at our reservation center. I'm meeting with the Lausanne folks this week. I'm having more meetings here in the LA area, trying to understand the West Coast, LA, and I can get confused, but I now know that the starlight is at night and the daylight is in the day, or day coaster. And I didn't get that right. I understand. I still can't pronounce San Luis Obispo.
That's right. That's right.
But thanks. I've been calling it slow like everybody else does. So I do appreciate being here. I'm gonna wrap this up and say thank you so much for having me here to speak, and thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate it.
Bob, do you have the other mic? Or what did you do? Oh, it is, it's on.
Paul, you have one question here for Mr. Law.
First, is this on? Thank you. I'm trying to combine 17 questions into 2.5. The first one is a collective question, and this is the zinger, as far as I'm concerned. The collective question from the Railpack board basically is this: we need cars. Where's the car order?
Good question. What cars do you need? Do you need the long distance cars? Well, we have begun to look at and are ready to order, for example, on the Viewliner spec, baggage cars, diners, and some Viewliner sleepers. So we are moving forward in that area. We know that that's necessary. It's a step at a time. We do also look right now at the need to make some even quicker fixes. For example, on the Lakeshore Limited, the diner light never worked. It's not working. We're going to have the full diner on that particular run. I keep saying to staff by Thanksgiving, they keep saying, oh, maybe by Christmas. I said, Thanksgiving. I don't know if we'll get it by Thanksgiving, but that's what I keep saying. I'd like to see it by Thanksgiving because it's necessary. We already fixed on the Lakeshore Limited the lack of having a sleeper come out of Boston. So that there's actually a sleeper coming out of Boston, so you don't have to go across the, again, I know this is East Coast, guys, I'm sorry. But so that you don't have to cross the platform in Rensselaer to make that work. We know that we need to get these cars moving, and we will have a plan for that. We have a new VP for Policy and Development who came as the Director of the Commerce Committee out of the Senate. One of his objectives and responsibilities, and we're moving a lot of stuff right now, is to have a fleet plan that makes sense, including for the long-distance trains.
This is, again, a combination, and it's very pithy from a couple of people. Service to Las Vegas, question mark, service to Phoenix, question mark. And again, this is something that concerns the RailPac board. We've lost these two major markets over the last 15, 20 years, and we should be thinking about growth rather than just the status quo.
Let me talk a minute about Phoenix. Back when I was the FRA administrator, we had one success, a small success to begin with, was to have in the normal authorization each year an ability to do some capital programming and planning with the states. And the initial amount was $30 million. And so one of the folks that wanted to make sure that we began to look at Phoenix, Tucson area was one of the congressmen whose name escapes me right this minute. He'll kill me later. We have begun a study in that particular area. We know that that's an area that needs to be connected. As far as Las Vegas, I don't have a great deal of knowledge at this point in time about whether you're going to have a high-speed rail or some kind of a rail connection into Las Vegas, but we know it's an important connection for the future.
Okay, one more combined one, and then over to you, Tom. I've got 3 or 4 questions here about crew levels on the long-distance trains. Crew chiefs, train car attendants, one attendant for 4 cars, circumstances like that. What's your view on that? Can we improve things?
And about 3 weeks ago, I sat down with all of the unions in the George Meany Center in Washington, D.C. And we had a pretty good discussion about there's about 23 different unions involved with Amtrak. Joel Parker brought up one of the issues about having an onboard crew chief, for example, which changed in the past. All of those are economic issues that we're looking at as how do we do this. One of the things, and I think it's probably important to say right now, is that all the dollars that we've received, the 1.3 or even the competition for the $8 billion which the states are going to get, are all capital dollars. There has been no additional operating dollars given. So whether we do a study, for example, to reinstall the New Orleans to Florida service, or the North Coast Hiawatha service, or the Pioneer, or any of those studies that even turn out that it's something we should do, Congress has to come back and give us the specific dollars of assistance for operations to do that. And in some cases, even some of the capital work that we do today requires us to pay the retirement, for example, out of an operations account, which means our operating amount of money goes up without an appreciable increase in operating assistance. Some of it we're going to be able to take care of with increasing allocations in the PREA and the reauthorization if they're authorized by Congress, but they are something that we have to pay particular attention to. And we have made some changes in how we actually, and I'm beginning to understand Amtrak, that we're managing those crew services. And many of the people that I engage and talk to do want to make some of those changes. Those are things that are not going to be immediately changed, but we're thinking them through.